So got a little bit of work to do. They brought something new here the last 2 weeks and really shown a lot of strength in the drivetrain. So got to do a little bit of work to keep up with that. But other than that, we were right there. Team did a great job adjusting the car during the race. Got us a little bit better as the race went on, and we were in position, led some laps. It really came down to the last few restarts, who got the clean air, who pushed who, and we just couldn't quite get in front of Denny. I was a little bit faster than he was once we were up to speed, but not anywhere near as fast as he was getting up to speed for the first lap. So once he got the clean air, he was able to pretty easily defend. But that was kind of the story of our race right there. Led laps. Proud of our effort. Won a stage. We're doing the right things.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks. And we'll go to questions now. We'll start with Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic.
Brad, thanks for your time. You kind of touched on it a little bit there about the Gibbs cars. What are you seeing out of their cars? Because it certainly seems like on these mile-and-a-half racetracks, it's not just Denny Hamlin right now. It seems like all of them are quite strong.
Yeah, they got great speed. Probably similar speed to what we have once we're kind of up and going, but on the restarts, whoa, big speed to get accelerating. And this racing, once you can get the clean air, if you have equal speed to the cars around you, or even just slightly less, you can hold them off pretty easily. So he's been able to do that, and the Gibbs cars have looked very good lately.
Next, we're going to go to Lee Spencer.
Thank you. Congratulations on a solid run, Brad. I'm thinking of watching the closing laps, and I'm thinking this looks like what we could be seeing for the championship. For too early to kind of size up who your competition might be.
Yeah, it's always so hard to say. You look at the way the playoffs. We got a lot of wild card races in there with the Roval. Trying to think everything else. It's Roval's in there, Bristol's in there, and I'm sure a few more. I'm failing to remember here in the moment, but I sure would be glad if we were one of them. I can tell you that, Lee. And we're committed to doing that. We're showing the strength to do it, leading laps and running up front consistently, and scoring a lot of top 10, top 5 finishes. And this is, silently one of the best years of my career. Maybe not wins-wise to this point in the year, but average finish-wise of my career to this point. So in the season, I'm very, very happy for that, and hopeful that we can just find another little notch so we can dominate races and showcase ourselves as being one of the 4 to beat.
With the kind of season you're having, do you expect to get your contract signed soon if it's not done already?
I hope. It's not there, but I'm very hopeful.
Appreciate your time. Safe travels.
Thank you.
We're going to go to Bob Pockrass next. Bob Pockrass.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, I'm here. I'm sorry I didn't hear you the first time. With Hamlin not having won a title, do you think all these wins are going to help give him – does that matter for him going into the playoffs and potentially into the championship as far as his mental kind of state or mental focus in that type of situation?
The head of a race car driver is a scary place to be. And, mine alone is scary enough. The last thing I want to do is try to pretend like I understand what's going on in his. But, if I'm trying to reference myself, certainly winning races is not a bad thing. But the way the playoffs are set up, really all it does is increase your chances of being in the Final Four. And once you're in the Final Four, it's a complete free-for-all.
And are you okay with how they're going to – with however they set the lineup and no practice for the playoffs?
Yeah, I know there's some ideas being floated out, and I read Scott Miller's quotes that it's not set in stone how they're going to do it in the playoffs. I'm okay with the way things are going until we get in the playoffs, but would like to see some changes once we do get to the playoffs. But I think NASCAR is open-minded to that and looking through all those options.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next, we're going to go to Mark Garrow with PRN.
Thank you. Have you got me, guys?
Yep.
I hear you,
Okay.
buddy.
All right, because I got some earplugs in here I've just started using. Brad, how do you look at the way this team is running and the group of races that we've got coming up, I mean, you're going to be racing hard and heavy throughout the month of August, and just how well do you feel you're set up for that?
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 races that are fun but really don't mean anything at Daytona with the road course and the plate race. Then you got 2 races at Michigan, which are a big deal to me because I'm from Michigan, but in total honesty, they don't mean much to the playoffs. So, I think you look at the stretch of races right here, and they're mostly just kind of fun races. There's somewhat lower pressure, chance to kind of work on yourself and the team, but there's not a lot that's going to carry over to the playoffs.
And just a moment ago, you talked about your contract. Where does it stand? You said you'd like to work it out or whatever, but where exactly do you feel it stands right now?
Yeah, it's it's a work in progress, and the good thing is there's progress. So, but nothing's done until it's done. So, I feel very hopeful.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next, we'll go to Sterling Siemens.
Brad, first of all, congrats on the great run tonight. A couple of questions that I have. First, it really seemed like you were starting to really catch Denny there near the end of the race. If you had another 5 to 10 laps, do you think you had anything to get around that 11?
Man, that's hard to say. He was really good for sure. He could run the wall pretty decent, but he was starting to fade. So it's hard to say. I'd like to think yes, but no way of really knowing. That's probably not a great answer, but so that's what I got.
And a quick follow-up. Obviously, you had your comments about earlier this week about how NASCAR, there could be the possibility or just the idea suggested of a system where drivers could be demoted to a lower series after so many repetitive mistakes. Obviously, this came with the Quinn Half incident back at Texas. Were you able to talk things over with Quinn during the week leading up to Kansas, or not? And if you have, what was discussed?
No, I didn't talk with Quinn. It wasn't meant to be offensive to him. It might have came off that way, and I apologize for that. But I do feel like there needs to be a more official system for being promoted into the Cup Series and making sure that for the future and for the credibility of the series, we have the best drivers out there with the best credentials. And it's tough because the team owners have their own business model they're working through, and I understand in some ways the only way you can handle that is to take the option away from them of not having drivers with really proven out credentials. I feel very adamant that there are many national series for racing across the country, great national series, whether that's the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, ARCA Series, K&N, and beyond. There's great places in stock car racing. My dad once told me the great thing about motorsports is there's a place for everybody, whether that's the short tracks that are, run across all of America or the national series. I think we have to be very careful to make sure that everybody is racing in the right place to make the best racing for our fans and for our sport. And when it comes to the top level, I think we've seen some changes there in the ability for drivers to gain access than we've had in the past. And I'm not a fan of that. So I'd like to see, a system be installed to really fix that for the future and protect the interest of the series.
Thanks, Brad. Congrats and safe travels.
Thank you. No problem.
All right, Brad, thanks for joining us tonight, and congratulations on your run today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And we're going to be joined here by Martin Truex Jr. in very short order.
Hello, hello.
Hello. All right. We're joined by our third place finisher, Martin Truex Jr., driver of the number 19 Toyota with Joe Gibbs Racing. We will go straight to questions for you, Martin, and we will open up with Jordan Bianchi.
Martin, it certainly seems like the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas are much faster on the intermediate tracks across the board. not just Denny Hamlin the last 2 weeks. What is it you guys have found?
Just executing, really. I mean, I feel like we've been fast all year long, honestly, on the bigger tracks. And, for us on the 19 car, we got off track there a little bit and, tried a few things along the way. And, with no practice, no qualifying, if you try a few things and you get off a little bit, you're off all weekend, until you can come back. So, I mean, honestly, just for us on the 19, we've kind of went back to, more stuff like we did last year. And, and I think also the guys in the shop are working really hard to make cars faster and bring us better pieces. So, it's been good. And, the last couple months, we've been really strong. So it's been promising, and hopefully we'll start to get some wins here.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to go to Stephen Conley.
Martin, we've seen the last couple of weeks, the PJ1 has been very heavily applied to the racetrack. Tonight, you didn't have it at all, and we saw, I would say, some of the better racing we've seen all season. Do you think that it's time to reevaluate the application of PJ1 and how much it is used on different tracks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth talking about, and looking at it. I think, obviously Kansas is a track that really doesn't need it. It has multiple grooves, and you can run all over it. That being said, I mean, it's difficult. Texas and Kansas, or Kentucky, both were places that, are predominantly bottom lane racetracks. And, I'm not sure any other lanes would have really been super competitive at those two tracks without the PJ1. But, with that being said, you spray PJ1 in lane 2, and then everybody just runs lane 2. So, I don't know that it really opens up a whole lot of options. It makes the tracks faster. It makes tires a little bit more critical, I think, for Goodyear, because the speeds are up and the loads are up. But, aside from that, it's really hard to say because it's still a one-groove racetrack, PJ1 or no PJ1.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next, we're going to go to Tyler Jones.
Hey, Martin, when you look at tonight's race, when you moved over from daytime to nighttime, how much did this race change for you guys making that transition?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changed the car some. I think, I think the biggest thing was it helped some guys that, maybe weren't quite as good early on in the race when the track was hotter and slicker. It helped them, I think, fire off on restarts better. It certainly helped those guys that decided to put two tires on a few times there and were able to, fire off on the restart and get, far enough out front that it took a while for guys to catch them. So I think it changed that for sure. We were really strong all day, and, it seemed like as it started getting into the nighttime, it took us a little longer to get going on runs. And, if guys could beat us out of the pits on two tires or whatever, it would take us a long time to pass them. So that was the biggest thing I noticed was just, being off a little bit on the short run later on, just because guys were, getting us on track position.
We're going to go to Randy Kovitz next. Randy, you're on mute, I believe.
I am here. Martin, your teammate reminding you of you in 17, or just what's clicking with him so well?
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously doing a good job, and executing well and doing all the little things right to kill. So, I think for us, we need to win some races, and sometimes racing can be cruel, and you can win. It's just they're hot right now, doing everything right than theirs. But at the day, whose car is better? Whoever wins, wins. So we'll just keep working hard. But yeah, those guys are on fire right now. They're doing a great job. They're fast everywhere, and they're not making any mistakes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Martin. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Congratulations on your race, and enjoy a couple of extra days off.
Thank you. See you guys.
And we're about to be joined by our race winner, Denny Hamlin. All right, here we go. We are now joined by our race winner, Denny Hamlin, driver of the number 11 Toyota with Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny, we are going to go straight to questions for you, and we will start off with Bob Pockris.
Yeah, Denny, does outrunning Harvick and does that help you? Do you feel like mentally going into the playoffs and or potentially for the championship race?
Not really. I mean, because every track is so different. I mean, you know, especially with the news of like no practice, it's like, oh boy, you know, this season is going to come down to really a big old crapshoot at the end. To hopefully you got your car unloaded nicely, but you don't feel like you're in a one-up position, I guess you could say, by beating them. But you know, I thought that we were in trouble. Our car didn't have the all-out speed that a couple cars did. Certainly, it looked like his had a ton of speed, but to kind of outduel him at the end, it's gratifying, but it only lasts this week. It doesn't give me any false confidence going forward.
Thank you.
You got it.
Next, we'll go to Kelly Crandall.
Thank you. Hey, Danny, you had said, I think back at Pocono, that it's not championship or bust, because a lot of people obviously will be quick to point out, well, you've never won a championship, but you've got 3 Daytona 500s. Now you've got 11 wins in the last 2 years. So in general, how do you feel now just about your career, how things are going, and where you stand in the sport when you take a side, like you said, it's not championship or bust?
Yeah, I mean, I love winning, and I just want to get to as many wins as I possibly can, and hopefully I win the last race of the season. That's the goal, but there are no guarantees. We're putting together a very, very solid season in many, many aspects. And that to me is a great season. If we can somehow get to the Final Four, that we have accomplished our goal. From that point on, those last 301 laps or whatever it is at Phoenix, we'll give it our best shot and see where we stack up.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to go to Jordan Bianchi.
Denny, throughout the night, different drivers looked like they were in the picture to win this race. The 18, the 24, the 12, and you and Kevin kind of were running well, but maybe not in the mix. But when it comes down to it, though, you guys were deciding the outcome of this race. Do you look at that and just kind of like, this is just how it goes this year, this is who we are, this is what we are, and we are the 2 drivers that are separate ourselves from everyone else, and we're going to be fighting for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing a great job of putting ourselves in really good positions to win races. And obviously, we really could have a boatload of wins right now. It's incredible. Chris set a very lofty goal at the beginning of the season of how many races he thinks we're going to win. And I said, you're nuts. And I'm thinking, wow, a few blown tires away from really making it happen. We still can get there. So I just he's bringing fast cars, and we're executing. I'm not making really many mistakes behind the wheel right now, and that's we're putting ourselves in contention. When we restarted 5th right there with 20 something to go, I really didn't like our chances that much, but I just was trying to execute every restart perfectly. We were able to get to 3rd, another restart. Let's execute that one nicely, and we were able to battle it out. So this is a well-executed race. We won today with probably not the best car.
Next, we're going to go to Randy Kovitz.
Yeah, Denny, winning here now back to back. I mean, what's that mean to you? And knowing you told me last week you're better second time around here. You can't get much better. What does that mean going into a playoff race at Kansas, that you've won it day and you've won it night?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Anytime we can go to a racetrack and win for the first time, and then when we go back later in the season, pretty optimistic. So I love our chances, like I said, and I think that we got some good tracks ahead of us. We got some tracks that have been tough for me in my career ahead of us. So those are the ones I really want to perform well at and get better at. And if we can put ourselves in contention and win 2 or 3 more of these things before the playoff starts, we're going to be putting ourselves in a very good position for the stretch run. So You know, anytime we run track 2 times, I spend a lot of time really downloading and figuring out what I need to do to be better. And I still think there's a lot of work to be done with our team to make sure when we come back here, we are a little better, because I definitely think we were probably a 3rd place car today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we're going to go to Lee Spencer.
Thank you. Congratulations, Denny. I asked Brad earlier, and I'll ask you the same thing. To see the 4 former champions all running up front, you, Harvick, Keselowski, and Truex, you kind of think that it's shaping up to be the 4 of you that will eventually end up fighting for the championship in Phoenix?
Oh, we're so far removed from that. I just think that, who knows? I mean, 18 ran well tonight, 19 ran well tonight. It's just, I don't know. I mean, you know, we've been on this tire now for probably 3 of the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's not been the driver's favorite tire. It's been a challenge aerodynamically. But I think that it's so week to week. I mean, it seems like the 12 car in particular has been really fast on this tire. Penske cars have been good on the tires. I'm optimistic that we've been, you know, really kind of nimble and being able to be good at multiple racetracks, different tires, you know, different aero packages from last year, and we're kind of winning at all different types of technique of racetracks. So who knows, you know, who's going to be the final 4? I could have, you know, in this format, you know, who knows? I mean, we could leave a bolt loose, you know, and start the race and be out of it in the first round. I don't know what's going to happen. I just want to win as many as I can, and I'm not thinking about a championship right now.
I guess under this format, or what's going on with the pandemic and how we're racing everything, I'm just wondering if this doesn't lead more towards veterans to really, you know, be the guys that finish, to be the guys that contend on a regular basis, because it's really going to take more, I think, experience than I think experience is going to win out this season, I guess is probably a better way to ask that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think when the last time we had someone in their 20s win a championship. I don't know that answer. I think Kyle was 30 on his first. But it just, you know, racing is a little different than other stick and ball sports where, you know, even though your athletic ability may deteriorate a little bit in racing, you know, I'm winning more with my mind now than I am with my talent, you know. So I just feel like I have to be smarter. I have to really be strategic with my moves. I have to really put a lot of effort into thinking about putting myself in the right situation. And that seems like, you know, today was kind of one of those days where I knew I didn't have the best car, but I had to just kind of outfox, you know, some people in some certain places. And it just worked out to where, you know, we got that stretch run at the end where our car was fast and I was able to make the move.
Thank you.
You got it.
Next, we're going to go to Tyler Jones.
Denny, you won here back in October. What do you like so much about Kansas Speedway? What have you guys figured out to get you this recent success you've had?
Well, I think Kansas has matured into one of the best mile and a halves that we have on our schedule. You know, it doesn't need any PJ1. We can run all the way from the wall all the way to the bottom. It's just a really, really nice racetrack. And it seems like the asphalt has aged well here. I think that the tire that we had here in the fall was a little better tire than what we had here in the spring, or I guess it's the summer. But it just seems like our setup was working for both. So we didn't venture too far from our race-winning setup this time around, and it was pretty close. So like I said, I still got some work to do. I think that we weren't the best car, like I said, but we found a way.
Is the way that you guys are running the best that you've run in your career right now? How's this compared to some of those moments you've been through over the years?
I certainly believe so. I mean, 2010 was a great run with eight wins, but I mean, man, we're more competitive week in, week out right now than what we were in 2010. I would say some of our races in 2010 were more dominant, but I think the field was a little more stretched out there to where one car would hit a setup, it would really take off. All these cars, especially with this aerodynamic package that kind of keeps us closer, it's tougher to really dominate races, but I certainly feel like I'm in contention more than I was in 2010.
Thanks, Denny.
Got it.
Next, we're going to go to Zach Sterniolo.
Denny, congrats on this win. I'm curious, a lot's been said about your relationship with Chris Gabehart over these last 18 months. What is it about the two of you that allows you guys to have been so versatile over these past 18 months? Because it is really every single racetrack you guys go to, you're competitive and have a chance to win. And I know you've harped on the trust between you guys a lot too.
Yeah, and I think it really boils down to trust. I do my job, he does his, and I don't venture in his department. He don't really venture into mine. So he knows that I've been doing this long enough. When I give him the information that I need to make my car faster, he just goes to work on it. He doesn't try to change how I'm driving to adapt to maybe what someone else is doing. He works on the car to get it where I need it. And so that relationship really works well. And, we're building a notebook, and that notebook is getting thicker and thicker, and the knowledge is getting greater and greater. And that's why you're seeing the results you're seeing.
Maybe it's a little premature for this question, but do you feel like you guys can be one of those all-time great duos as the driver crew chief?
Well, statistics would say that we are so far, but I would like to keep it going for many, many years past just these last two. And we've got something special going for sure, and we don't want to mess it up.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Denny.
Got it.
Next, we'll go to Jim Utter.
Congrats, Denny. A lot of times this season, it's become a Denny and Kevin Harvick show at the end. Going to New Hampshire next weekend, it was that last year where you and he raced and you led a lot of laps and came in second. Do you expect another battle with them next week and probably many more coming down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, those guys are so solid. I mean, they're going to be in the top five even on their bad days like today. You call it a bad day, he nearly won it with 10 to go or so. So he still finds a way to get to the top five. That's just a really strong race team. Him and Rodney, find a way, even on when they have about a 10th place car, they've managed to get great restarts at the end and put themselves in contention to win. So what you've seen from us in the last year with the 11 and the 4 is a lot of mutual respect, and we race each other with a lot of mutual respect, and because we know it won't be the last time. And we've still got probably many years of battles ahead of us, and we've been around the sport a long time, and we butted heads early in my career, but he's certainly a guy that I personally would like to model myself after.
You mentioned earlier about the tire, and we've seen some things in the last couple of weeks, some strange strategy calls that people probably wouldn't think would work. How much of those decisions affected the decisions that you guys are making right now?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, tire wear, it seems like we either have tires that kind of wear too much, like Indy, where we blew one out after 26 laps, where we have ones that don't wear at all, and you could, run about 3 races on them. So it's just, I think Goodyear's trying to get a common tire amongst all these different racetracks where, if we want to put on the best race possible, each track, needs and deserves its own particular tire to put on the best show. Being common and just having a simple, this is for all mile and a half, each mile and a half is built differently. The way the asphalt is made is different. So you need a different tire for these different types of asphalt. And I think they're just in a phase right now where they're just trying to make things more common. And it's in my opinion, it's not as good a product, simply because inside the race car, I can tell you it's much harder to pass than what it was last year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we'll go to Mark Garrow.
There we go. Denny, you alluded a little while ago about, Chris set this goal at the beginning of the year, but you didn't tell us what it was. So what was the number he set that you think you might be able to get to or could have already gotten to?
Well, I think, we had some meetings in the off season, and, we didn't talk a whole lot about Homestead and, championships. Let's go get a championship this year. His goal's been very simple. He gave me a list of about, I think, probably 6 guys in history that had won X amount of races. He says, you want to be a legend? Like, get on that list. Forget the championship. Like, you win that many races, and you've done something special. And so, we're working towards it, and we're trying to do everything we can. And certainly had some slip out of our hands over the last month or so that I wish I could have back, but you can't do it. We've got 5. We're roughly a little over halfway through the season, and so we can get there. We just gotta keep digging and keep putting our head down and keep working. And that's my goal is to win as many races as I can, and hopefully that the last one of the season is the last race.
That was a great answer, and you still didn't give us the number, but I get it. You don't want to jinx the deal. I get it. But it was a great answer, and I appreciate it. You spoke a moment ago with Jim Utter about the New Hampshire race last year. What do you think of that finish now when you look back on it? It was classic. It was one of the best finishes we had last season.
Yeah, I thought that Harvick just kind of outsmarted me really on that last lap, kind of protecting the bottom there. I didn't do a good job on that final lap. I obviously had the fastest car. He just outsmarted me by putting himself in that position to where he was on the offense and he could play defense pretty easily by just kind of giving me the old door on the right side coming off the turn 4. So, of course, I was going to beat him the line, and he knew that was his move to stop my momentum. Had he been on the outside, I would have done the same thing to him and got him out of the groove. So he got the best of me, and I certainly haven't forgot it. But you learn lessons here and there from guys like him.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to go to Stephen Conley.
Denny, without the practice and everything, you guys feel like you can show up to any race and win that race, or at least be in contention for it. Do you feel like you can win at every track, or are there some still at least upcoming, especially into the playoffs, that you think might be a little problematic for you?
No, I mean, we run well everywhere. There's not one track we don't run well at. So to answer your question, no, we can win every single week. I know my equipment's good enough to do it. I still need to get better at some racetracks. But certainly I think that I go to the racetrack every week thinking that we can win. As long as I don't make a mistake and we have what we call in our 11 team is a green race where no mistakes are made, we typically are always in the top 5 with a shot to win. And so it's on me to make sure we have green races.
And you were talking about Chris Gabehart earlier and the trust that you guys have. How close do you feel that without the practice you guys are unloading with the truck to be up front immediately?
Well, we're doing a better job. We're doing a really good job, obviously, of adapting to no practice. But certainly I think that, on going to races where we have the same aerodynamic package as what we had last year, it makes things a lot easier to unload closer. So, and now that, in the second half of the season, we're going to be going back to some racetracks, you're going to see a lot of guys be much closer when they unload than what they were at the start of this deal.
Thank you.
Got it.
Next, we'll go to Adam Fenwick.
I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and ask about New Hampshire Motor Speedway as well, Denny. You've been extremely good there during your career, just in general. 3 wins there total, not to mention battling Harvick the last couple of years. Why are you so good there? What makes you as a driver and your team so good at that racetrack?
Well, I just think I'm a kind of a short track guy at heart, and always, adapted to the flat mile tracks, whether it be Phoenix, 3/4 mile at Richmond, or New Hampshire. It just seems like, the flat tracks, the flat short tracks I've always been really, really good at. It feels like an eternity since we've run a short track that other than the All-Star race. So, we're going to be going back there with a different aerodynamic package. So we can't just rely on the notes that we had. The closest thing we could use is probably Phoenix, but I wrecked out of that race early, so we don't have a whole lot of notes to go by, but I'm sure we'll be pretty close when we get there. But it's just a a track I've always been good at, and it fits my style of driving, and we've got some wins because of it.
Next, we're going to go to Jeff Magliochetti.
Hi, Denny. Congratulations on the win. This will be the longest break you guys have in the schedule for a little bit. So basically my question is, how are you going to spend that time? It was great to see that time spent with your family in Victory Lane on NBC after the race. So how are you going to spend that time basically from now till New Hampshire?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some time with my girls this weekend, so hang out with them, and we'll hang out tomorrow and celebrate. And my celebration for my winning is taking them to the ice cream store. So I'm not sure who they really probably feel like they won more than I did. So we'll just hang out, and obviously it's great to have a weekend off, especially with as busy as this season has been. We've been really on a stretch grind here. And I'm really happy that it seems like I don't know, it just seems like in my career I win a lot going into off weekends. So since something about being able to be number one for a few extra days motivates me.
All right, we'll get that large cone tomorrow. Thank you, Denny. Congratulations.
Next, we'll go to Sterling Siemens.
Thank you. Denny, first of all, congrats on the win tonight. I got to ask, because JGR, they seem to really have a knack for mile-and-a-half tracks like this. I mean, 3 cars in the top 5 tonight for Joe Gibbs Racing. What is it that gives JGR such an advantage on tracks like this?
We don't have an advantage. We just, we have great equipment and great people that work on the cars to make them fast. And so there's no given advantage. We all have to work for it. And, it's not been a dream season by any means by JGR this year. I mean, it was a tough team meeting after Texas with Joe, and he gave us some motivation to go out there, and we needed to get our act together and start winning some races. So it definitely we don't feel like we're on top by any means. We still got a lot of work to do, but today was encouraging because we saw all of our cars towards the front, and that really is a good sign that you've got a bigger box to work with when it comes to the speed in your car.
Thanks, Denny. Congrats and safe travels.
All right, thank you.
Next, we'll go to Steven Taranto.
Denny, this is the last of the midweek races that we've been having the past couple months, and so we've had a few races on a Wednesday night, a couple races on a Thursday night. I know in the past we've had Monday night races for one reason or another. As NASCAR looks to perhaps implement more midweek racing into future schedules, is there a particular day of the week that you prefer as far as this sort of racing is concerned, or do you think there's a place for all of them?
I think there's a place for any day of the week, but one thing I noticed with the ratings is anytime we move away from a Sunday 3:30 time slot, it hurts rating because people get used to, okay, well, it's Sunday, so the race has got to be on probably 3:30 Eastern, right? But when you have a Thursday or Wednesday, we really certainly got to focus on promoting these races and getting the word out that we're on TV in the middle of the week. It's just, I don't think that there's any shortages of eyes, but I think that certainly the promotion side of things is what we really got to ramp up whenever we have a midweek race, because certainly I think people are at home. They're at home more than they are probably on a Sunday afternoon, to be honest with you. It's just we got to let them know that we're racing.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yep.
Next, we'll go to Ashley McCubbin.
You talked about it already, and that the fact that it hasn't been that dream season, and JGR needs to keep winning some more. What do you feel is the biggest thing, though, moving forward that you need to improve upon?
I think we need a little bit of speed, to be honest with you. Like on the restarts, I really had to fend off the Penske cars. They were extremely fast. I really couldn't hold a lead. Once I did get the lead on a restart, it would be about 8 laps, and then I get past. So I just feel like I need some more speed. However I can get that. That's so many different departments. Aerodynamics, it's motor, it's all kinds of different things that we need to improve on just slightly, and we'll be right there where we need to be. So typically JGR, we get better as the season goes, but this has definitely been a particularly slow start for JGR. with the exception of us, as an organization to start a season.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
And we're going to wrap up with Jonathan from the Racing Experts.
Yes, Denny, just scoring 2 consecutive victories here at Kansas Speedway, just with this track and aero package combination. What do you think makes you so good at this racetrack with this package?
Well, I think I've got a great setup, to be honest with you. I think Chris has found something that really worked last year with the setup of the race car, and with no practice, we didn't have a chance to screw it up. So we just kind of put it all back together, and we had some great success off the notes that we had from last fall. So, last fall's race was kind of out of the blue for me. We started 20-something, and I knew within 5 laps, I'm like, wow, this car is really, really fast. And so it handled all over the racetrack. I could move just about anywhere and be fast. So certainly I think that, we've got something we can build on. And I'm actually anxious to get my computer out and get to work on downloading, Kansas here and figuring out how it can be better when I come back.
Thank you, Denny.
Thanks.
All right, Denny. Well, thanks for joining us. Congratulations, and enjoy that ice cream this weekend.
All right. Thank you.